If your salary has ever landed in your account with all the staying power of a house guest who politely announces they're popping out for milk and then vanishes into the night, this video is for you. Because somewhere in that monthly rhythm, between the rent, the direct debits, the card taps, and the quiet belief that next month will somehow be different, there is a number that most people never claim. It is not a fortune. It is not a windfall. It is not the kind of number that makes you rich by Tuesday. It is $500. And the question is not whether you have it. The question is whether you have ever treated it like it belongs to your future before it belongs to your present. I'm Dan, and if you've ever looked at your account and thought, I earn enough, so why does it still feel like I'm just keeping the plate spinning? I want to show you what happens if you stop letting that $500 dissolve into the month and start letting it work somewhere else instead. Because most people think the hard part of investing is the strategy. It is not. The hard part is the $500, not finding it, not earning it, not learning the stock market. The hard part is deciding month after month that this specific chunk of your life is not available for spending. And that decision is harder than it sounds because $500 does not feel optional. It feels like it is already spent. It feels like rent's slightly less responsible cousin. Like the buffer that keeps the month from squeaking. Like the money that quietly absorbs the things you did not plan for but definitely could not avoid. And that feeling is the trap. Because $500 a month is not just $500, it is $6,000 a year. It is $30,000 in 5 years. And if you put it somewhere, it can grow. It becomes something that breaks the math in a way your brain is not naturally equipped to understand. That is not hyperbole. That is compounding. And compounding is the most boring, invisible, life-altering force in personal finance. To see why, let me give you two versions of the same Tuesday. Meet Alex. Alex is 27, earns a decent salary, and has spent the last few years in that familiar cycle where money arrives, money leaves, and the net result feels like polite stasis. Not broke, not struggling, just stationary. And then Alex sees something, not a guru, not a get-rich scheme, just a number. Someone, somewhere, worked out what $500 a month becomes if you put it in a broad market index fund and leave it alone for long enough. And the number is not the kind you look at once. It is the kind you look at, look away, and look back at, because somewhere between the first and second look, something shifted. You felt the distance between where you are and where that number lives. And underneath that, quieter. Something that felt like the first edge of understanding that time is the only thing in this equation you cannot manufacture more of. So, on a Tuesday, Alex opens a brokerage account, not because they have done months of research, not because they have a strategy fully formed. They open it because they finally understand that the cost of not starting is also a cost. It does not arrive as a bill. It does not show up on a statement. It accumulates in the gap between what your future holds and what it could have held. And you will not be able to see that gap clearly until you are standing on the far side of it. Alex splits the $500. $300 goes into a Roth IRA on the first of the month. $200 goes into a standard brokerage account on the 15th. They buy a low-cost index fund that tracks the S&P 500. They set the transfers to automatic. And then they do the hardest thing the entire strategy will ever ask of them. They leave it alone. Here is the question that will not leave you alone in the first few weeks. What if this is wrong? What if the market drops the month after you start? What if there was a smarter way to do this? A better fund, a better split, a better time? The doubt is not irrational. It is just irrelevant. Because the version of you that waits for certainty before starting is the version of you that never starts. There is no signal that will arrive and tell you the conditions are finally right. The conditions are never right. The $500 leaves the account on schedule regardless. That is the whole system. Everything else is just what happens while the system runs. 3 months in, the account holds $1,700. The market moved both directions. The net result looks like rounding error. This is the moment most people leave. Not because they made a bad decision, because the human brain runs on feedback. Visible, legible evidence that an action produced an outcome. And in the first year of investing $500 a month, The feedback is nearly invisible. The account grows. The growth is real, but it does not feel real. And that gap between what is true and what feels true is where most people's financial futures quietly end. The person who stays past month 3 is not more disciplined than the person who leaves. They are not more financially sophisticated. They understand one thing differently. The feedback is coming. It just runs on a longer delay than they are used to. By the end of year 1, the account holds $6,200. The market returned close to its historical average and added roughly $200 to what Alex put in. The number is not the point. The point is what Alex did not do. They did not spend that $500 in January or February or any month after. The money that stayed is now a different category of asset than the money that left. The money that left is gone. The money that stayed is running. Alex also changed something this year that the account balance does not reflect. Before January, $500 felt essential, necessary, spoken for. By December, Alex had restructured the month around $500 less and did not feel it the way they expected to. The lifestyle adjusted quietly without drama. That adjustment is worth more than the $6,200 in the account. The account can recover from a bad year. The habit of treating one fixed amount as untouchable cannot be bought. It has to be built month by month until it becomes the thing you do before you do anything else. Year 3, the account sits at $19,800. Something is different now in how the number reads. It no longer feels like money Alex saved. It feels like something that is operating without them. The contributions from year 1 have been compounding inside the contributions from year 2, which are compounding inside the contributions from year 3. Each layer of capital has been in the market for a different duration and is growing at its own rate. The result is a balance that is climbing faster than the rate at which Alex is adding to it. There is a threshold approaching, the moment when the account's annual return exceeds Alex's annual contribution. At $19,800 growing at roughly 7%, the account generates about $1,385 in a year. Alex is putting in $6,000. The returns are less than a quarter of the input right now. But watch what happens to that ratio over time. Every year the contribution stays flat. Every year the account gets larger. Every year the return produced by the account grows. Alex is not moving the finish line. The finish line is moving toward them. And then there is the question no one thinks to ask at year 3. What would have happened to this money if Alex had spent it? Not the total. Not the $19,800. Just month by month, what did $500 become when Alex chose not to keep it? A dinner here? A trip there? Items purchased and forgotten inside a year? The money that left has no record, no remaining value. The money that stayed has both. That contrast, invisible in month 1, is starting to be legible now. 5 years, the account holds $41,000. Alex put in $30,000 of their own money. The market and compounding have added $11,000 that Alex did not earn, did not negotiate for, did not trade hours to produce. $11,000 generated by the fact that money left in a growing market earns a return, and that return earns a return. And that process does not require Alex's involvement once it has started. It requires only that Alex not interrupt it. In year 4, the market fell sharply. Not a small dip, a real drop. The kind that makes headlines, the kind that prompts people to call their financial advisors in a panic. Alex watches the account lose ground across several weeks. They do not sell. They do not pause the automatic transfer. They do nothing, which is the hardest possible action to take when a number you have spent 5 years building is moving in the wrong direction. The account recovers. It always has across every comparable historical period. But Alex did not know that with the certainty they needed when it was happening. They stayed anyway. That decision to hold while the number fell is the decision that separates the investors who build something from the investors who only participate when it is comfortable. Comfort is not a financial strategy. It never was. At $41,000, the account is no longer a savings account. It is infrastructure. It is the foundation of a structure Alex is still too early in to see fully. But Alex can feel the difference now between the weight of $41,000 working for them and the weight of nothing. The difference is not in the bank balance. It is in the way Alex thinks about risk, about time, about what money is for. 10 years, the account is $96,000. Alex is about to cross $100,000, and that threshold matters more than it should and exactly as much as it does. Below it, the account felt like a vehicle, a savings mechanism, something Alex was filling up. Above it, it starts to feel like a system, a structure with enough mass that it behaves differently. The returns in a strong year now approach $7,000. Alex's annual contribution is $6,000. The account is generating, for the first time, more in a single year than Alex is putting into it. This is the crossover point. This is what year 3 was approaching. The moment when the capital already inside the account becomes a more significant driver of growth than the new money Alex is adding. Alex is still contributing the $500 every month. They will not stop. But the mathematical reality has shifted. The account is no longer waiting on Alex. It is running ahead of them. Alex also runs a number they have never run before. They calculate what they would have accumulated if they had started 5 years later. At 32 instead of 27. Same contribution. Same rate of return. Same discipline. The difference is approximately $58,000. $58,000 is the price of 5 years of delay. It does not appear on any bill. No one sends an invoice. But it is real and it is permanent, and there is no version of year 30 in which Alex gets it back. 15 years, $184,000. Alex put in $90,000 of their own money. The account holds $184,000. The market contributed $94,000 that Alex never worked for, never worried about producing, never had to show up for. It arrived because capital invested in a diversified market index grows over time, and Alex did not interrupt that process. The ratio is going to keep shifting. At year 20, the market's contribution will surpass Alex's by a wider margin. At year 30, Alex will look back at their own $90,000 of input as a relatively small portion of the total. That inversion is the thing most people cannot hold in their heads when they are staring at month 1. The idea that the money they put in eventually becomes the smaller number. The account at $184,000 does not feel the way Alex imagined it would feel when they were 27. It feels quieter than that. It feels less like an achievement and more like a condition. The way a structural wall holds a building without announcing itself. Alex is not thinking about the account. Most days, the account does not require Alex to think about it. That is precisely why it works. 20 years, the account holds $295,000. Alex contributed $120,000. The compounding added $175,000. For every dollar Alex put in, the market returned $1.46 on top of it. That ratio is not a projection. It is the arithmetic result of a historically average annual return applied consistently across 20 years without interruption. The account generates in an average year just over $20,000 in returns. That is more than a significant portion of American households earn in 6 months of full-time work. Produced by a balance sitting in an index fund, requiring no labor, no negotiation, no performance review. It arrived because Alex started at 27 and did not stop. This year, Alex's city goes through a period of economic anxiety. Layoffs, shuttered storefronts, the kind of ambient financial dread that spreads through a community and finds everyone eventually. Alex feels it. Not immune to context, but something is different in how Alex feels it. Alex is watching from a position that did not exist 20 years ago. The dread has less grip when there is a foundation underneath it. The $500 never changed. Alex earned considerably more by year 20 than they did at year 1, but the contribution stayed fixed. The difference between what Alex earned and what Alex spent improved. The $500 did not move because the system that the $500 is part of was already working. Alex did not fix something that was not broken. 30 years, $543,000. Alex put in $180,000. The market put in $363,000. Alex is 57 years old and has an account that is worth more than $500,000. It began as a Tuesday, an automatic transfer, and a decision to leave it alone. This is not the only thing Alex has. There is equity in the home. There is a 401k that has been receiving contributions for decades. There are other small positions accumulated in the years when there was extra. The $500 a month account is one piece of a larger picture, but it is the piece that started first. And because it started first, it has had the longest runway. And the longest runway produced the largest share of what compounding added. Alex thinks sometimes about the version of themselves that did not start, not with regret, with something closer to arithmetic. That version is not a worse person. They did not make a moral error. They made a timing error, one that compounded quietly in the background for 30 years. The same way the account did, just in the opposite direction. And here is the thing that keeps coming back. The question Alex has never fully been able to answer. Somewhere tonight, there is a person around 27 years old looking at their phone. They have $500 that has not been assigned a purpose yet. It landed in their account this week and it is still unclaimed. In the next few days, something will claim it. A bill, a plan, a moment of ordinary spending that will feel completely justified because it is. The $500 is not the issue. The decision is the issue. They do not know yet that the choice they are about to make is not a $500 choice. It is a $363,000 choice. And the thing that keeps Alex up some nights is not the number. It is the question underneath it. How many of them, in that exact moment, with the $500 still unclaimed, are one video away from doing it differently? If this felt uncomfortably familiar, let me know in the comments which part of Alex's story you recognized most in your own life. And subscribe if you want more videos that treat money like the life story it actually is, with fewer fairy tales and slightly fewer bad decisions.